You know, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, from Brazil to Russia, whether you're a student cramming for an exam or a truck driver on a long haul, there's this one ritual that just unites everybody, that first cup of coffee. It's the kickstart to the day for so many of us. But really, for as long as we've been drinking it, we've been asking one big question.
Right. Is that cup you might even be holding right now a guilty pleasure that's kind of quietly doing you harm? Or is it secretly one of the healthiest things you'll do all day? Well, you might be surprised to hear what the science has to say. So let's get into it.
Okay, so to really understand coffee, we have to talk about its main ingredient, the thing we're all really after, caffeine. And get this, it is the most widely used natural drug on the entire planet. And it has completely reshaped, well, everything. At its most basic level, caffeine is a stimulant. It's just naturally found in coffee beans, and its whole job, the reason we love it, is that it hacks our brain to make us feel less tired and more switched on. But the story of how it became our go-to fuel, that's what really explains our modern world.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say that caffeine literally fueled our modern way of life. It is the drug that made the 24/7 world we live in even possible.
So it all kicked off back in 1820 when caffeine was first identified, and it didn't take long for it to find its true calling during the Industrial Revolution. You had factory owners giving coffee to workers on these long, brutal shifts to stop them from, falling asleep at dangerous machines. Fast forward to today, and that same effect, combined with electric light, has totally untethered us from the natural rhythm of day and night. As Harvard researcher Charles Czeisler puts it, we've fundamentally changed our relationship with sleep. We just don't work by the sun anymore. We work by the clock. And caffeine is a huge part of what makes that possible.
So how does it actually work inside your brain? Well, it's actually a pretty clever trick. See, there's this chemical called adenosine that builds up all day, and it's what makes you feel sleepy. Caffeine's secret is that its structure looks so much like adenosine that it can slide right into its receptors and block it. It's like putting the wrong key in a lock. And at the same time, it boosts other chemicals like adrenaline and dopamine, making you feel alert and focused, sometimes in just 20 minutes.
Now, for decades, this is where the story got messy. The science seemed to be pointing to some really serious downsides, and I bet you've heard most of these before.
Yeah, the classic case against coffee has always been pretty strong. For starters, it's definitely addictive. Try to quit, and you'll feel those withdrawal headaches. It's been linked to heart disease, certain cancers, digestive issues, and of course the big one, it can totally wreck your sleep. For some people, it can also cause high blood pressure or heartburn. For a long time, this was the accepted wisdom.
But then, something shifted. These massive new studies started coming out, and they didn't just question the old fears, they pretty much turned them completely on their head. And the numbers, they're kind of staggering.
Get this. A huge U.S. study found that people who drank 2 to 4 cups of coffee a day had an 18% lower risk of death from any cause.
And that's not all. Other big studies suggest that regular coffee drinkers could have up to a 65% lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease.
And what about liver disease? The research points to a potential 84% lower risk. I mean, these numbers are just completely rewriting everything we thought we knew.
So what's just wild here is how this new evidence directly flips the script. The very things we used to worry coffee caused, like heart disease and cancer, are now associated with a lower risk of death in people who drink coffee. It went from being seen as a health risk to being linked with a longer life.
Okay, so this all seems like amazing news for caffeine lovers, right? But the next logical question has to be, are all these incredible benefits actually coming from the caffeine itself?
And here's where the story takes another crazy turn. Researchers found that a lot of these same positive health effects, they also show up in people who drink decaf, coffee with almost all the caffeine taken out. So if it's not the caffeine, then what is it?
Well, the theory that's gaining ground is that the real magic is in the coffee bean itself. Some researchers are even suggesting we should stop thinking of coffee as just a way to get a drug and start thinking of it as a healthy vegetable food packed with beneficial stuff, similar to what you'd find in broccoli and berries. Okay, so let's recap. We have this substance that helps us work longer, which we once thought was terrible for us, but now it seems to be unbelievably healthy. So, what is the final verdict? What's the catch here? The catch, according to experts like Charles Czeisler, isn't really the coffee itself. It's what we use the coffee for. There is a very heavy price we pay for constantly overriding our body's natural need for rest.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of the issue. Cieslor warns that as a society, we are profoundly, dangerously sleep-deprived. Coffee isn't the problem. The problem is the epidemic of exhaustion that coffee allows us to paper over.
Because let's be real, when we don't get our recommended 8 hours of sleep, our bodies suffer. We get sick more often, we can't focus, so we make more mistakes, we're more likely to gain weight, we have a higher risk of accidents, and it can have a serious impact on our mood and mental health. We use coffee to mask these symptoms, but it doesn't fix the root cause.
Which brings us right back to the beginning, to the one question every coffee drinker really wants answered. With all of this new information, is it okay to keep enjoying that daily cup?
And the answer from health experts, like Harvard professor Alberto Ascario, is a pretty resounding yes. If you're generally healthy, you enjoy it, and you're not going totally overboard, the science suggests you should absolutely keep drinking your coffee and just be happy about it.
So in the end, maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. The debate isn't really about whether coffee is good or bad. The real question is a much more personal one we should all probably be asking ourselves. Are you using coffee to enhance a life where you're already well-rested, or are you using it just to survive a life where you're sleep-deprived? The answer to that? Well, that changes everything.